Yeah, back in the shed.
We are back at it. You are at the home of YouTube's best four-wheel driving channel. We're building a dirty rig. We're going to be smashing some mud boxes through some wet, muddy puddles. We're going to be driving through together, aren't we, mate?
Some sloppy slurry in this, mate.
The boys are on.
Call Mum.
I'm going to call my mum. Welcome to another episode of Mighty Car Mods, the best four-wheel driving channel on the internet. Last episode, we pulled out the 1.3 litre from the Jimny so we could upgrade it, and we've got this incredible engine that I bought off eBay for $700 that I'm pretty sure is...
Yep, big block swap. We took out a really nice condition 1.3, and we've got this 1.5 that only once we start ripping apart did we realise that it hasn't been loved. It's glazed up, it stinks. There's just rust. There's actually rust on the back of the valves, so I don't know what we're going to do about that. But there's a bigger problem that we have right now, and that is...
that these spark plugs have been torqued to 250 Supermans, and... I got one!
Did you?
I got one!
Are you sure it didn't just jump off the spark? I think that was the socket jumping off the plug, or the plug snapping in two.
I think I just...
But yeah, they're really tight. Someone has put them in with a breaker bar. Did you get it?
I got one.
Well done. That means you're 201 Supermans.
What about this one?
Oh, look at it. Dude, you're travelling me across. That's 202 Supermans of...
That one's not coming out.
No, you're going to get it. You're going to get it. No.
I should call my mum, see what she reckons.
Do you reckon she'll know?
Yeah. Playing with cars? What are you playing with?
I can imagine that. I'm playing with weeding around jacaranda trees. I'd rather be fiddling around with cars, I think.
Quick question. We've got an engine here out of a Suzuki Swift and the spark plugs are stuck. Have you got any ideas how we'd get them out?
Okay, well, look, there are a couple of old-fashioned ideas. I know some of the old-timers out the bush used to put a bit of spit on and it would turn, or a daub of olive oil, but I think the best thing you can do is get a DAC and just send it.
Because it works perfectly.
Wow.
With a couple of the spark plugs successfully DAC'd out, we're installing a new oil filter thread into the Swift engine block because the configuration is different to the Jimny one. Now I'm back on the hand tools, and that is another one out. And now we can see that it looks like they've never been changed. They are filthy.
Oh, mate, it's really nuts. I can't believe they were in that tight. Look how crushed these washers were. But also, check out the porcelain. I'm used to reading porcelain on plugs with old cars, right? Tells you, how much fuel it's running, what sort of timing. You can see all the ground straps are all slightly rounded over on all the edges. And there's a little bit of a tinge of green on this one. It's almost yellow on the porcelain. So usually I look at that to see how it's fueling. And this motor's been running really hot.
Yeah.
For a long time. There's a good chance these have not been out. Maybe since new.
Which would make sense though, right? Because we saw that some things on the side of the engine appeared to be melted.
Yes, the knock sensor just was melted to nothing. We actually swapped the other one from the other motor onto this, which are the same part. And it looks like it's never had an oil change.
No, it doesn't look like it.
So this is consistent with what we've found so far with the rest of the motor.
Martin, what are you looking at over there,
Top
mate?
of the pistons are filthy too. They're just crap all over them. But I mean, they're there.
The engine's thrashed, isn't it? Let's just be honest.
Yeah, it is. Trash bad. It's going to make a lot of smoke and grot when we first
If it
start it. What is
starts.
that? What do you reckon that is just sitting on top of the piston?
It's just carbon.
Look at
wow,
that.
no, there's a piece there.
There's like a thing there. Let's get a magnet down there and just make sure that's not made out of metal. But I can see it it's a big... It could have fallen off the piston. It's gross, isn't it? Look at it. These borescope inspection cameras, by the way, are really cheap off the internet, and it's just a really easy way to get a little bit of insight into what's going on in a situation like this. Also handy for checking what's in your toilet. So I can see that both pistons are covered in stuff. It could just be greasy, oily crap that came out when the spark plugs came out, because those holes would have been filled as well. Did it stick? Tell me that's not metal. Is it metal?
That's all metal, feel it. It's pieces of metal.
Well, that's not great. Do you want to see if any of these... What about this one? There's some in there as well.
eBay engine.
Yeah, so I guess it's not eBay's fault. It's the person that advertised on eBay, right?
That's a chunk. That's an actual
a big
chunk
chunk
of metal. Yeah, big chunk of metal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so plugs back in and the starter up.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how long these plugs have been in there or if they were ever changed at all. These ones are NGK BKR6E11. We are putting in BKR7E11. You can see the difference between the old and new here. Now, I don't know how these were installed, but I'm going to show you how to install these. You want to put them in, first of all, by hand. You can get a bit of hose. NGK actually make this thing that they sent us, which is like a spark plug installation hose. Putting it in by hand means that you're not at a risk of kind of cross-threading it. So we're going to put that in, twist it like that. We can feel it going all the way in. And then once it gets to a point that that is seated, which is about there, then all you need to do is get your ratchet on there and you're going to give it a 1/2 to 2/3 of a turn, but a 1/2 is going to be enough. So we're just going to go 1/2 to 2/3, done. That is it. And put them in dry. You don't need to lube them up.
With the first new spark plugs in what could be 100 years, this engine should be running much better once we actually get it going. There's only a few more little things to do while the engine is out of the car, and then we're ready to get it off the engine stand and onto the engine crane, ready to be installed in the Jimny.
With the engine off the stand and back on the crane, we can install the original Jimny flex plate that mates the engine to the automatic gearbox. The moment we've all been waiting for. Big block in the mud box.
Look at that, mate.
That's great. I love this bit. How are we going?
Good so far. Just a lot of loomage over here.
I like that the engine faces the correct direction. Don't you?
I don't mind,
Because it used to face the other way, and now it's always going to be 90 degrees the other way.
It's right-wheel drive now.
You're too low at the front, I reckon. It's got to go. Can it go that way? Can we do it?
What we need is one of those things that adjusts the angle.
Nah.
How many Supermans are you? Maybe it sits on the engine mount, so we might get it to square up.
Yeah,
Look at
that's
the
true.
front. Watch the front.
Hold on a
Watch
sec.
the front.
I got a bit of clearance here.
Watch your hands and stuff, dudes.
Yeah, yep.
Yep.
Coming down.
Yeah, it's going to land on this engine mount. So hold there, hold there. Can we come forward a little bit?
Towards me.
Yeah, no, towards the back of the car, sorry, this way. Yeah, and then that's going to land on this engine mount.
From this point, we just have to wrangle the engine in by pushing, pulling, raising and lowering until everything lines up. That's it, the engine mounts are done up and the Swift engine is in the Jimny. Next up, we're installing a brand new radiator, and then we have to reconnect everything in the engine bay to the big block engine. Now that the engine's in, I can also install some headers that I bought online. These are a really great way of getting a little bit of extra power out of a naturally aspirated engine.
So these here are some headers that I bought on eBay. As we said before, the engine costs around $700. The headers cost $400. The engine will give us around 30 horsepower extra. The headers will give us about 2. But we're here, it's here, so we are putting them on. And as long as they actually fit, which hopefully they should. There we go. Look at that. That's a performance upgrade. And the ECU doesn't need to be... The ECU doesn't need any reprogramming or retuning. It will just automatically unleash the extra power, even with the the injectors, the stock injectors that are on there, which is pretty cool. Probably because this car and this engine's a little bit old school, that works. I don't think that would float on a newer car, but for this, it definitely does. And we probably will be floating when we're out in the mud holes.
I am so excited about bringing this older Jimny's power up to similar numbers as the more modern Jimny, and every single kilowatt will be utilised, as we've added quite a bit of weight with our bar, racks, mud tyres, and we're going to be installing a winch in case either of us gets stuck once we're out bush. It really is all about the power to weight ratio, and as it turns out, we're increasing both. But when we're all done, this is going to be an awesome and super capable little off-road nugget that's come a long way since its spiritual birth as a K car in Japan. For some reason, our direct replacement radiator doesn't fit, so after trying a number of different ways of trying to cram it in there, I did what any sensible person should do and stuck a cable tie through it.
All right, this is where we're at. Engine's in, radiator's in. The loom is fighting us because we may have put the engine in prematurely, if that's possible. So that needs some fendangling, which Marty is doing. I've plugged in all of the connections at the bottom of the radiator. Now it's time to put some oil in this car for the first time, possibly ever. And what better oil to put in, people, than the mighty Car Mods Edition Castrol Edge, available exclusively at Super Cheap Oil. I know, I'm excited too. And now, Martin, this car will have the oil it needs for the performance it demands for the big stroke in the big block in the mud box. I'm so excited. We're going to be starting the car today, people. You can mark my words. Yeah.
With our own oil in our own car, we are just minutes away from turning the key for the very first time in our engine-swapped Jimny.
We've got a bit of a fight on our hands reinstalling the engine loom as it does some weird back and forth loops around the engine bay. We need to connect the sensors and the ignition wires as well as the starter motor wiring. Our thermofan has been reattached, so now we can grab our trusty funnel bucket, which is an excellent tool for filling and bleeding cooling systems. Being that we replaced the radiator and it's a different block completely, the whole engine should be bone dry, meaning all we need to be completely refilled and bled.
Sometimes modifications can have questionable or controversial results, but going from a 1.3 litre to a 1.5 litre with a bolt-in engine that costs just $700 off eBay should be a bargain by anyone's definition. With our final checks taking place and a new air filter just installed, we are ready to turn the key, with fingers crossed that this munted engine is actually going to work.
Our M15A engine is in. It's pretty much 10 to 12 hours to pull the other one out, put that one in. I'm confident it won't start because the engine is thrashed. And in fact, if it does start, I'm guaranteeing you now, I'm going to do a shoey with some shit beer.
Are you really?
Straight up. Yep.
A shoey?
Yep. Because that's how confident I am that it's not going to work. Nothing that we've done, just that the engine is thrashed.
I reckon it's going to be noisy and stinky. I don't reckon it's going to work.
Well, let's
Right,
find
here
out.
we go. Did you put oil in
the
it?
key. I put oil in it. It's got coolant.
All right, key off. Hang on, I've got to put your negative strap on.
I was going to
You
say,
ready?
yeah, we'd...
All right, moment of truth.
All right, here we go. We got lights. We got that. Here we go, people.
It's got no comp. Does that have no comp?
I don't know, bro.
Does that
Go
sound
again.
like it's got no comp?
Go again.
It finally happened. We've been so lucky, man.
Go again.
Go again. It just sounds
No
like an
shoey
engine.
for me.
Sounds like an engine turning over that's not actually making any compression. Does it have spark plugs in it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are they done up?
Are the coils connected? I don't think the coils are connected.
Yeah, I plugged them in.
Yeah?
We're going to check everything and we're going to try again. That sounds like it's got no comp. Or it's leaking. Or I don't know. That just sounds wrong.
The underneath of the car,
There's a
Martin,
lot of coolant. But
Can you see how much coolant's down there?
here's the thing, right? The coolant's not coming, like the obvious thing at the back of the engine, heater hose,
Yes.
you know, like coolant
that goes
circuits.
into the heater matrix,
Yeah,
yes.
all the stuff, but it's not coming out of there.
Okay, so where's it coming
The
out of?
coolant's coming out of the exhaust pipe.
That, litres of it.
Yeah, which
Litres and litres of it.
I think the engine's completely rat shit and it's so bad it's got a cracked water jacket and it's just coming straight out.
Next time on Mighty Car Mods, we try and find out what's wrong with our engine and see if the eBay seller is going to give us our money back.
I bought an engine from you guys via eBay and it appears to be blown, so I just wanted to chat with someone about swapping it over.